Today, we are taking a trip to Germany to speak to Franz. Franz is the keyword research expert. He's on the team at Sellics. Great guys, great app. And we're going to talk about keyword research, specifically, how to discover and implement keywords in your listing. Because I'll tell you what, if you are selling on Amazon and there are keywords that relate to your product and shoppers are searching for them on Amazon, but you don't have them in your listing, you're losing traffic and sales for literally no reason. So I highly recommend checking this out. We go through things that you can do to improve your listing keyword-wise right now, absolutely free. And of course, I'm at Asteroid Aim, and we optimize listings and do other services. And Franz is from Sellics, and they have keyword research tools. But we came together today to show you exactly how to put the best keywords in your listing. So enjoy this one. Me, Franz, let's get into it. Welcome to the show. Today we have Franz. We're talking to Franz. Welcome.
Hi, Pat.
So you are currently in Berlin. Is that?
I am, yes.
Okay.
I am currently in Berlin, so we're based in Germany, and so we're all located in Berlin, which is a beautiful city. The winter is a little rough, but I understand that you're in Toronto, so it's probably not as rough as in Toronto.
Yeah. We had a cold weather low for 50 years this year. So.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess. Today I thought we could talk about one of the most crucial but sort of underrated parts of selling on Amazon, which is the keyword research.
Yes.
When you think about a seller who's just starting up and they're thinking about selling their first product and they're launching on Amazon, at what point should they be thinking about this stuff, about keyword research?
Well, personally, I have this philosophy that you can actually use keyword research to even decide on what products to use or to source, right? So if you follow this kind of philosophy, then essentially it would be one of the very first thing to do, right, before you even source the product, to at least validate that there is enough demand for the product that you have in mind, right? This is typically, most people wouldn't say that this is keyword research. They would rather consider or name it as, market research or product discovery and so on. But I think that it's an important part in the sourcing decision to really validate that there is demand on Amazon. And the best way to do it is essentially by, researching the keywords. And then you can also, and I'll have some examples later, but you can essentially also doing keyword research, you can also figure out how you should really design the product, right? So what color should it have? What material should it be made of? And so, there are a lot of hints that you can get from keyword research that you can actually, first determine if there's enough demand or not. And then second, also kind of, define the details of your products. So that's for those who are just getting started. And then the latest you should start researching keywords is when you actually create your listing, because then you will need it for your organic listing, but you will also need it for your sponsored products campaigns, right? And so it's it's just that's the latest point. So when a product arrives, you create your listing. At least then you should start doing keyword research.
And I guess, how would you define keyword research? What are you looking for in the process?
Yeah,
super simple question. Just really basic.
So again, I think it depends on the use cases. So I see three different use cases for which you can use keyword research, right? And so depending on the use case that you have for the keywords, the keyword research, I would define it probably a bit differently. But eventually, the goal of all sort of keyword research essentially is to end up with a list of relevant keywords. And so what is a relevant keyword depends on the goal that you have, right? So a relevant list of keywords for product research is different than a relevant list of keywords for sponsored products, for instance, right? So it really depends, but the output of every keyword research is a list of keywords. It's actually fairly simple if you put it that way. And then in the second step, you then use this list of keywords to then, achieve a certain goal that you have in mind, either, find new product ideas or, create sponsor products campaigns or whatever it is.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Okay. So it looks like maybe the initial product research phase for sure, it would
Yeah.
start to kick in. Your product ships and it goes live on Amazon, and you're creating the listing definitely there, and also pay per click. That
Yeah.
because it could inform which keywords are used in manual campaigns, for example.
Yes, absolutely. And so then, there are different strategies on when you want to get started with your pay-per-click campaigns. But typically, nowadays, you don't wait for a couple of months to get started with PPC. Instead, you just, you put the listing live, maybe generate 1, 2, 3 reviews. And then, what most people do is then they just get started right away with sponsored products.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Okay, okay, cool.
Yeah.
That's a good. I mean, that's a good breakdown for those who are unfamiliar. So, I guess, and you're talking about how in any of these cases, really the result is like a list of keywords, and we'll talk about, I guess, how to prioritize and what in each of the three cases maybe, but you have a keyword and basically you have, I don't know, I guess, are you measuring the monthly search traffic for each, something like that?
Yeah, so that's unfortunately something that's a bit complicated on Amazon because there is no official search volume,
Yeah.
right? This is just something that is a huge, I don't know, let's call it a headache, right?
That's
that
a nice
is
term for it. Yeah.
So it's just complicated. So there are different tools, that try to give some estimates and so on. But at the end of the day, you always need to be aware that there is no official search volume on Amazon, provided by Amazon. All those service providers that are offering some sort of indication, I mean, it is an indication or estimate at best, right? So ideally, yes, you have some sort of way to prioritize the keywords, right? So you can say, hey, this one is more important than the other one, but it's quite difficult to do on a larger scale on Amazon. So what most people are doing is then they just say, so hey, I don't have it on Amazon, so I just take the Google search volume.
Yeah.
And I'm personally not a big fan of this. So I think that this is quite misleading. I think that there is no fixed ratio between Google and Amazon. So people, sometimes they go like, hey, so, so the search volume on Google is 3 times the search volume on Amazon, and they just multiply or divide all the Google search volume by 3 to end up with the Amazon search volume. I don't think that this is accurate. So I think, in fact, what's happening is that some keywords are being searched more on Amazon than on Google, and other are being searched more on Google than on Amazon. So there's no, fixed ratio across all keywords. It really depends on each single keyword, which is why I'm personally not a big fan of using Google keyword search volume estimates to approach the Amazon search volume. But what?
I think that makes a lot of sense. I agree with you on that. So you're at Sellics. You built Sellics. You
Yeah.
have Sonar, which is a free keyword research tool.
Yeah.
And also a paid tool at Sellics. How do you guys get your keyword volumes then?
So at Sonar, essentially, so it's an estimate, right, that we do, but it's an estimate that is essentially based on the likelihood of a keyword showing up in the autocompletes, right?
Oh, okay.
So maybe we can, I think I can give you more detail than in the presentation. But that's essentially how we approach it, right? Because we feel that this is the only real metric. So I think what's important is that we don't use any Google volume or any other external things. Sonar isn't all you see in Sonar is just based 100% on Amazon information, everything. There is no external influence because we really feel that it's really misleading. I also think that Google, the Google keyword estimator is a bad keyword tool for Amazon. So I think. We just want to keep it clean. We're focusing on Amazon, and so we use only Amazon data to allow you to find the keywords, but also to allow you to to kind of prioritize the keywords.
All right, guys, we're back. The recording cut out. It was my fault. All right, so yeah, Franz, I was just gonna ask you, what, uh, I guess number one, do you think Google information is useful in any context? And
Yeah.
two, why do you think it varies so much from Amazon?
So the first question, I think that now it is not as valuable anymore. So, when we started, it's like almost 4 years ago, there wasn't, a single Amazon keyword tool on the market available, right? So instead of just using, your brain and doing some brainstorming to come up with keywords, I think that, back then it was better to use Google than use nothing. But today, as there are so many, specialized tools just on Amazon, I think that the value of Google has really diminished, particularly when it comes to keywords. I think that it is still a very valuable, Google obviously is very valuable, but for different things that, it's valuable for driving traffic, for generating external demand. So this sort of things, but not so much in the context of keywords, right? So why is it different? Well, I think that the use case on Google is just different than on Amazon. So I mean, Google is essentially a global search engine, which means that you search anything on Google. So it could be a product, but it could also just be some information or whatever it is that you search on Google. Whereas Amazon is really focused on just products, right? And this is why. So let's say that you type in iPhone X into Google. What are you searching for? Like, do you want to buy the iPhone X? Do you want to get a picture that you need for some university presentation? Do you want to do you want to know who designed it? Like, what is it that you want to find as information? Whereas if you type in iPhone X on Amazon, then it's very clear that, you want to buy the iPhone X. So because the search intent is so different between Google and Amazon, you actually have different search behavior, and people search in a different way than you would find on Amazon, right? So very people, I think, at least in Germany and Google, they type in a lot like smartphone comparison, for instance, right? This is something that you would typically not search on Amazon, because you don't search for smartphone comparison on Amazon. You search for a specific smartphone that you want to buy, right? So that's essentially where the difference is coming from. And so now the interesting thing is that it's for other products you would rather search them on Amazon. So I could imagine that iPhone X is being searched more on Amazon than on Google, right? In terms of total search volume. But I can also see other words that are being searched more on Google than on Amazon, right? So like smartphone comparison, probably more on Google than on Amazon.
Right, for sure. Yeah, I think I was reading recently, I think it's something like 55% of all product-related searches start on Amazon now, something in that neighborhood. So it's definitely gaining, and it's possible that people who are searching products on Amazon are further down the purchase funnel, like the buying intent is a little bit stronger.
Absolutely.
You said something really interesting, which was... and feel free to add, whatever you'd like. That you're estimating Amazon search volume based on what was likely to come up in the suggested bar.
Yeah.
How does? Okay, that's interesting. How does?
So I can show it to you later, but maybe just to add it to the point before. I think what's interesting to see is that today everyone goes like, 55% of searches for products are starting on Amazon, and only 16% or so is starting on Google, right? And the story typically is that so Amazon is taking it away from Google, right? It's taking away the search volume. But if you really think back, right, at the very beginning, so 1995, 96, 97, and so on, Amazon used to be the number one product search engine already, right? And then they lost it to Google. And now they're just taking it back again. So it's really like in the mind of, let's say, our generation, we just know that, let's say, like the 2000s and ongoing maybe. So we're used to this, like, hey, Google has always been like the number one search engine, and there was nothing before. But the truth is that Amazon already used to be the number one product search engine, then lost it to Google, and now it's taking it back again, right? So it's an interesting kind of twist. I think the story is incomplete by just saying, oh, Google is losing to Amazon now. Yes, they are, but they won it before. So
that's funny. Okay. Huh.
Yeah, just a little side note.
That's cool. I had no idea. Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess what made you, and I guess maybe in a bit we'll look at if you were to do that manually, what the search bar thing would look like.
Yeah.
So you took that idea and blew it up at scale and made it more efficient.
Yes.
But why did you choose the search bar recommendation as your data versus say maybe like that's the best thing available? It sounds like it might be.
Exactly. Well, that's exactly it, right? It's the best indication of relevancy available on Amazon as on a large scale.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because
it's
the things that are suggested are already being searched more.
Exactly. So you have the autocomplete, right? So you have the search bar on Amazon. So when you start typing in a certain word, Amazon will autocomplete it, and so the ranking, how they show the keywords appearing is not random. It's essentially depending on what people have searched before. So the thing that's coming up at the top is the most searched term based on what you've entered, essentially.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Does it make sense?
Yeah. Well, it's yeah, I guess it does. It's because I'm not in the keyword research world as much. So when you first hear it, it seems like not necessarily the most intuitive thing, but it makes sense.
I can. I'll show you. I'll show you later. I'll show you the entire thing, and then I think then it's easier to understand. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, we've sort of, I think, gone over when keyword research is used. We put out 3 cases for that, where the data is coming from, where Amazon stands. So that's a good good foundational understanding of it. Did you want to hop into the slides, or do you want to add more stuff, or?
I think we can just hop into the slides, and then I think there will be questions coming up, and then we can just take it from there.
Okay.
Yeah. So let me just go ahead, and I'm going to share my screen. Okay. Well, there we go. All right. So essentially, what I just prepared a few slides. So I want to keep it as operational as possible. So I'm going to leave the slides on a regular basis to just show it live. But to give a little bit of structure, I think it makes sense to have some slides. So essentially, what I want to talk about today is this diagram here. So this is kind of like the outline. So the first thing I want to talk about is the keyword research part. And then I want to show how you can use the keywords that you've researched for different use cases. So I defined 3 use cases. I mean, we've talked about it before, right? So you have the use case of ranking optimization. So this would be organic rankings. Then you have everything that's related to AMS and PPC. So that would be paid marketing on Amazon. And then the product research as a kind of like the third use case. I put it at last because it's not typically considered as being part. Keyword research for this part is not very typical. So I think I'm just one of the few people that really talks about this. So I put it at the end because I think that typically when people think about keyword research, they are talking about those 2 use cases here, right? So how to increase your organic rankings and your sponsored products, essentially, right? So that's essentially. That's essentially the outline. So what I want to start with is the keyword research part. So how do you research keywords, right? And I will just show different methods, starting with just very typical brainstorming. I think that, back in the days, I want to say when we started, that's essentially how, most of the keyword research was done. So you just, brainstorm about what would be keywords that people use to find your product. And so I think that, this is still a very valid method. I think that just, random brainstorming is probably not the most efficient way to do it. So my tip in general is that if you want to do brainstorming, you should use some sort of system, and it doesn't need to be the same system that I'm showing here, but at least, have some system in mind that you're following, right? So what I'm suggesting is to just open a very simple Excel sheet or Google spreadsheet, and then just define some categories where you want to search keywords in, right? So my standard example is the exercise ball, right, or yoga ball. So you would start with all synonyms that you find that describe your product, right? Exercise ball, yoga ball, birthing ball, balance ball, stability ball, gym ball. So those are synonyms for the same product. So you would just mark them down in the first column, right? Then the second column, you can think of the material that your product is being made of, right? So in this case, eco-friendly, hypoallergenic. Then you go on colors. What are colors that my product has? Blue, red. Maybe other products. The units. Then features like anti-burst, supports 2,200 pounds. Quick inflation. Different use cases. When do you use your product? You use it for back pain, for balance, for office, for pregnancy. Who is the target audience? Is it men? Is it women? Is it children? Is it unisex? So it really depends on who's your target audience, the series or a model, and then other features. If you have, if you're selling a ball that has a pump, or then you might add this here as well, right? So this is just an example, and this is certainly not complete. But this, my intention here is to show you that it definitely makes sense to have some sort of system that you're following, because it will structure your thoughts a lot more than, if you just, take a sheet of paper and you think of like, so what are keywords that people might use to search for my exercise ball, right? So that's that's the first tip. So I think that, brainstorming used to be probably the only real way to research keywords. Now, there are other ways to do it, but this is still a very common way to do, right? But if you do so, my tip is use some sort of structure. You can use my structure, but depending on the product and the category that you're selling, maybe there are other, categories of keywords that are more relevant to you.
Right.
So then the next way, and that's the most common way essentially, is to use the Amazon autocomplete, right? So essentially you just type in exercise ball in the search bar. You don't hit enter, right? You just type in exercise ball, and then Amazon will autocomplete this word for you, right? So we'll show you exercise ball chair, pump with resistant bands, 65 centimeters, base, plug replacement, 57 centimeters, chair's office, right? And so this is what I said before, is that whatever Amazon is showing here, this is not the random list of keywords. Those are the keywords that are being searched the most in connection to the exercise ball, right? So exercise ball chair is being searched more often than exercise ball pump. It's being searched more often than exercise ball with resistant bands, and so on and so forth, right? So that's essentially the idea. And so the great advantage here is that you already have some sort of prioritization. So you don't need to think about it for yourself. You just type in exercise ball and see what's coming up, right? And you already get some idea of, what's more important than something else, right? So just from this, if let's say that you want to sell an exercise ball, and you see the exercise ball is 65 centimeters is being searched more often than 75 centimeters, then you would probably go in this size because it's being searched more often than this size, right?
Do you ever wonder if these suggestions vary by account, like your search history, purchase history, stuff like that?
Yeah, so they do sometimes, but then it's visible, because then at the top you will have 2 or 3 that are different. So they're highlighted in a different color. They're kind of a purple and in a little bit, but it doesn't happen very often.
Right.
And so we check this on a regular basis, and so it's really not depending on your search history. What is changing, however, is that the entire list is quite, let's say, volatile, in the sense of it is changing on a regular basis, right? So we checked it once, and then I think it was like 4 or 5 months roughly 40% of all the autocompletes were different
Wow. Okay.
than before, right? So it is changing a lot, but it already gives you a very good idea of what's going on.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I guess it's just, it's easier for the customer to pick the one that's closest to the top, so Amazon would want to prioritize that. Um,
Exactly. I mean, it's just to make it as easy as possible for the user, right? So I mean, the way it works is if you let me just, oops, wait, no. Do you see Amazon now?
I do, yeah.
Okay, good. So essentially, I mean, you just go here, exercise, right? And then you can see already that, if you're wondering what type of exercise thing you want to sell, then exercise bands would probably be better than ball, right? And then you can just, go down the tree. Essentially, you just go like, okay, exercise ball, and then what else is coming here, right? And so one, this is a very common approach. What's not so common is kind of the hack that I have for today, is that there's a little trick, which is that if you add a hashtag at the beginning of the word, right, it will actually complete it the other way around. You see that? So if you just type in exercise ball, essentially, wait, no, it will auto-complete it at the end, right? So you have exercise ball, and then they will complete it at the end, right?
Yeah.
Whereas if you enter the hashtag, it will actually show you what's coming before the exercise ball, right? So 65 centimeter exercise ball, 55 centimeter large exercise ball, and so on, right? So those are actually being searched more often than exercise ball chair, exercise ball pump, and exercise ball 65 centimeters, right? So this is a nice hack. It's actually, for some reason, it's not too known, but this is a nice hack that I'd like to share with you and your audience today, to just use the hashtag here at the beginning. Very simple but very powerful trick.
Franz, you're the best. That's a very cool one. I haven't seen that.
It's just a small trick, but it's working very well.
Yeah.
So I put it on slides as well. So again, enter the hashtag, and it will show you the autocompletes. So this is just a little hack here for you guys. But so this is the most common kind of way to research keywords on Amazon. I think another way that is totally underrated is to just check competitors. So I mean, just type in the exercise ball, and then it's sufficient to hover over the titles. There's no need to really drill down into the products. You just look at the titles of the products ranking on page 1, and then you get a ton of keywords, because those people are ranking at the top. They usually have very, very well optimized listings, which means that they did a lot of research to try to figure out what are the relevant keywords that I should put into my title. And that's just a very easy way to just look at your competitors and just go like yoga ball, stability ball, birthing ball, exercise ball, balance and yoga, fitness, exercise, and so on and so forth, right? So those titles are full of keywords, and it's a very easy way to come up with new synonyms. Because if we go back here to the autocomplete, the drawback of this approach essentially is that you always, it will just take what you already have, right? So it will give you the exercise ball and extend upon the exercise ball, but it will not give you synonyms, like stability ball or yoga ball and so on, right? You just won't get it from the autocomplete, right? And so I think that, checking competitors is just a very easy way. So you enter exercise ball, hit enter, and then you get, you just check the title of those competitors, and it's very easy. It's for free because, I mean, you just go on Amazon, and usually it yields very great outcomes.
Okay, great.
So then another way to research keywords is to actually use sponsored products campaigns, right? So this is a bit counterintuitive, and it's probably also not the ideal way to do it, but I just want to make sure to mention it. So essentially, what you do is you launch your product, you put it on Amazon, and then you start an auto campaign, a sponsored products auto campaign. And then after a few weeks, you just look at the search term report, and there, Amazon will show you what kind of search terms they have tested on your product and how well they performed. And then you can use this list to find new search terms that you didn't think of yourself, right? Now, the disadvantage of this is that it requires the product to be live on Amazon already, right? So you need to have it live on Amazon. And also it might get costly after some time because you just leave it running, and then it might get expensive at some time. So I don't think that this is, again, I think that in general, I think that the best way nowadays is just to use the tools that are available on the market. There are a ton of tools, and specifically I don't just want to mention Sonar. I think that Sonar is a very popular keyword research tool, and we're very proud of offering it. But it's by far not the only one, right? So you have keywordtool.io/Amazon, which I think is also a pretty cool tool. And then you also have the keyword tool Dominator.com, which again is also a pretty cool tool. All of those tools are free, right? This is why I mentioned them here. So there's no need to pay them. And then caution: Google tools may be misleading. So this is what we talked about before, right? That Google is not a fair representation of what's going on Amazon, essentially, right? So those are a few tools. I mean, we can just go in here. So this would be keyword tool, keywordtool.io. So you just enter keywordtool.io/Amazon, and then you have different ways of doing it. But essentially, it's working exactly like I just showed. It's expanding on the autocomplete, so you can type in exercise ball, right? We don't want to search in Germany, but we want to search in the United States, right? And also we want to search in English, and then you can just hit the search bar, and then it will just give you a long list. So in this case, it's 169 unique keywords, a long list of keywords. But you can tell that essentially what they do is they just autocomplete all the they just get all the autocompletes, right? So they go exercise ball, and then you have a long list of those keywords, right? Which is a lot more convenient than if you do it manually, because I mean, obviously you can just you can also then export all of it, and then you have it in Excel, so there's no need to manually type it, which I think is fairly cool. But the way that they try to monetize it is, if you want to see the search volume and the CPC and a competition, then obviously you can upgrade to a paid tool, right?
Which that's the only information you actually need. So like I totally get the using the suggested keywords to find new ideas.
Yeah.
And it makes sense that the ones that are suggested first have higher search volumes. But where do you find the baseline for how many exercise balls are being searched in general? Like suggested seems to. Do you know what I'm saying? Like it seems suggested seems to indicate like where they are relative to each other, but like how do you find the baseline?
Well, that's the difficulty, right? And this is why because nobody knows the baseline of anything. Nobody knows the true search volume of any keyword, which is why it's just very hard. It's hard to determine the baseline, and you can't really, from a search volume alone, you just cannot determine how popular a certain product is. I mean, what you can say that this is more popular than that, right? But you cannot say in absolute terms by how much it is more popular. It's actually similar than a BSR, right? Than a bestseller rank. That again is just a relative indication. It doesn't give you exact information of how much you get, right?
Yeah. So do you guys have to use BSR numbers to estimate traffic, or?
I mean, so if we go to Sonar, then essentially the way it works is similar. So you can just you type in exercise ball, for instance, right? Yeah. And then we will give you a long list of keywords, right? And so what we do here is we give you a search volume also, but this is an indication, right? So 5 is kind of the maximum, and then it goes down to 1, right? So it kind of gives you the relative information, but I couldn't tell you how high the search volume is for exercise ball. There's just no way to tell you. I can tell you that it's being searched more than exercise ball pump, right? But I can't tell you, this is being searched 200,000 times a month, and this only 150,000 times, for instance, right? This information is just not available, and anyone who tries to tell you that it is available, it is just not available. And trust me, we put a lot of thought into trying to figure this out, but there's just no way to do it accurately, right? There are other tools that give you some numbers. They will tell you 150,000, but this number is just, I mean, we could give you a number here as well, right? We could just say, hey, this is approximately this and this approximately that, but it would just be false and misleading. So we decided to use the bars here instead, right?
Okay, fair enough. Right, so people should know
Yeah.
like the information is not available anywhere to anyone in absolute terms. So if you
Eh,
see
eh,
numbers, it's a guess.
Yeah,
And,
yeah, I guess.
yeah,
Yes,
okay, fair enough.
I guess is probably the thing. Yeah, and I
It's
mean,
not a
I
random guess, just like
it's like, can you say an informed guess? I don't know,
yeah.
like an informed decision. I don't know. My
Sounds
English
about
vocabulary is not good enough to have the appropriate name here, but it's definitely not true information. That's what I can tell you.
right. There is no word in English for that kind of guess.
So yeah, it's really
Okay.
just it's just an indication, right? And so our decision was that we want to be transparent about this and really show it as it is.
Good.
You know, it would have been beneficial to just show some guess, but we feel that it's just misleading. So we put it this way.
Okay. And so what's the highest? Is four bars is the highest?
5 bars.
Oh,
5 bars is the
Okay.
highest. Yeah.
Okay.
So 5 bars is the highest, right? And yeah, so that's essentially it, right?
Oh, I see. And you guys used so you were talking about the hashtag trick earlier. So you guys
Yeah.
actually worked in the higher volume keywords with the hashtag trick in the same list.
So so the advantage of Sonar essentially is that you can really use it to also find other words, other synonyms, right? So here you can see at the top above the search bar, there are different ways how you can search for keywords, right? And if you just type in keywords, you will actually get similar keywords, which means that all the keywords that you see here
Yeah.
actually include the word that you search for. So all of them include exercise ball,
Yep.
right? And you can see here, I mean, those are 2,587. If you compare it now to 169, that's it's quite a difference, right? And so the reason we have is because we have an entire database of 200 million keywords, because we have the entire database of essentially of all Amazon keywords, and then we just search the entire database for keywords that contain exercise ball, essentially, right? So this makes it a lot easier. Now, if you do want to find synonyms, also you can just click here on extended, and then you will get synonymous keywords. And then you will see, so now it blows up right into 16,000 keywords. But you can see, the results are actually very compelling. You have the yoga ball, the medicine ball, Bozu ball, Swiss ball, balloon pump, right? Exercise ball, different with a Z instead of the S, right? So, I mean, just...
It's America.
yeah, it's America, right? Therapy ball, right? So, I mean, you just gotta... exercise equipment for home, right? So it's just it just gives you a wider range, and not all of them are relevant necessarily to your product, but it just gives you a lot a more complete picture of what people are actually searching for on Amazon, right?
Right.
And then the third way, which is probably also the most the most loved way to research keywords, essentially you just type in an ASIN, or you can just click here on a product. So you click on the product, or you enter an ASIN here at the top, and then it will just show you all the keywords that this product is ranking for on Amazon, right? And then again, you find like 5,000 keywords for this one particular product. And those, if you use the ASIN of a competitor, or you just use the ASIN of a best-selling product on Amazon, it will typically give you a very, very good list of keywords, right? So exercise ball, hand gym, yoga ball, exercise equipment, again, the American way, fitness equipment, fitness ball, balance ball, and so on, stability ball, small exercise ball, right? So a long list of relevant keywords that you can use.
Nice. Wow, that's so good.
So this is a very easy way, and then you can just download it also into as a CSV file, and then you can process it the way that you want to process it, right? So yeah, I mean those are just a few tools. I think I didn't show the keyword tool Dominator, but essentially it does the same thing, right? So exercise ball, you hit enter, and then it will give you again a list of keywords. So again, kind of the drawback of it is that, here you'll find 295 keywords, which is more than you could find on Keyword Tool IO, but it's less than you can find on Sonar. And again, also the biggest disadvantage is that it just auto-completes the different the exercise ball essentially, right?
Right, and they've chosen to go with a ranking structure.
Yeah, I mean the ranking structure is essentially is the ranking that you find in the autocompletes, right? So they have the one multiple times, right? One, and so on, right? Okay. I mean, the trick is essentially very easy. So, you can go an exercise ball and then get your keywords, but you can also go exercise ball A, right? And then you get all the ones. And then you go B, and then you got all the Bs and so on, right? So, and essentially what they do is they just, do this for you and then give you a list. And again, it's super convenient because, you can just, mark the ones that you want to have. Then you can add to selected keyword list. So you kind of have like a workflow also, right? So now you have all your keywords here and then you can export it. But I think what's always important to know is just to know what are the limitations so that people can make a good decision of what they want to use, right?
Good, very very diplomatic.
No, yeah, I mean, like I'm to be honest, like Sonar, I think is people usually ask us why Sonar is free, right? Like, to be very honest, like we thought about making a paid service out of it because we feel that it's totally worth it to make it paid, right? But so, we don't need to monetize on Sonar because we have Sellics in the background, right? So whereas other keyword tool, they need to offer some sort of premium service.
Just put Google AdSense on their site.
Or just put Google AdSense in, right?
I saw a little bit of that. I don't know who it was. I think it was the yeah.
Yeah, I mean, why not? But I don't know if it's
It just doesn't look the best. That's all.
Yeah, from an aesthetic point of view, I agree. It's not the, but as long as it does provide value to the user, if there's AdSense or not, I mean.
That's right. I'm being too picky.
Well, you're just used to having free stuff on the internet. It's yeah.
But Sonar looks great. Congratulations on that.
Yeah, Sonar is just very easy to use essentially, right? I think that's the main advantage, and just very easy to use and very powerful, right? Yeah. But again, I mean, just type in Amazon keyword tool in Google and you will get a long list of keyword tools, and those are the ones that I typically show because I feel that out of the free tools, those are typically the top 3 that I would recommend, right? Okay. So that's essentially for researching keywords. And now the question, so now essentially the output is you have a long list of keywords, right? And now the question is, what do you do with it? So if you want to optimize your organic rankings, what you do is essentially you fill your backend keywords, right? So that's a very simple thing to do. So you have, this is a screenshot from Seller Central, right? So you have your Seller Central, and then for each product you have a tab that is called keywords, and there you can just enter the keywords. And when you do enter the keywords, there are a few rules that you should keep in mind. So first of all, you should pay attention to not cross 250 bytes. That's important because it's not necessarily characters. So you have up to 250 bytes that are being taken into account. If you go beyond 250 bytes, all of your keywords will be dismissed. So it's really, really important to just stay within the 250 bytes limits, because otherwise, the entire backend keywords won't be taken into account from Amazon. So 250 bytes. Typically in the US, one character is 1 byte, but if you're saying outside of the US, like in Germany, you have some weird characters that, sometimes 2 or 3 bytes, right? So
like if it has an umlaut on it or something, that's an
yes, an umlaut. Yes, exactly. So this way, an umlaut would be 2 because essentially they transfer an umlaut to AE, for instance. Right. So I mean, it's just
right. Okay, so that would count as 2 bytes for like 1 letter, I guess.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
Absolutely, and so this is a bit misleading because it's not 250. It's 1 character, but 2 bytes, right? So if you count the characters, then you hit the 250.
Yeah.
Whereas the bytes you don't, right?
Right. right. So we optimize listings, but only for the US. So we just say 250 characters. But
Characters,
that's a
yes.
very good distinction. I didn't know that. Okay.
Well, I guess most of your audience are probably, focusing on the U.S. market.
Yeah.
So, I just want to mention it to be sure that, everybody gets it, because sometimes, otherwise you might get bad results. And then the other two are essentially, no need to repeat the words, and you can just separate the words with blanks, right? Which is, this has changed. It's always changing. It's going back and forth. So it used to be that you should repeat them, and then you should not repeat them, and then you can use blanks, and sometimes you can use semicolons and so on. So it's just going back and forth. But I think that this update that they did, and this is, I think it's almost a year ago now. I think it was last April or so that they put it to 250 bytes, right? And then, so what's interesting always is, so they changed it in April, but they only officially announced it in August, right? So between April and August, like, people still had 5,000 characters in their backend, and like those characters wouldn't get indexed, and so people are wondering why their sales are dropping, and the reason is very simple, is because they have changed the rules without telling you. So this is Amazon. I think that's it's important to know whenever you deal with Amazon that this could happen at any time. But that's essentially, in a simple, in a simplified way, that's essentially what you can do to improve your organic rankings. There's some other rules that, you should put your most important keywords in the title and so on. But essentially, I always say that, if you enter your keywords in the back end, then typically, you have a lot of the value already created, then, put in everything in your backend keywords, then put the most important ones in your title, and the ones that you couldn't fill in your backend, put them in the bullet points. That's essentially the kind of the rule of thumb that I give. I also don't think that's, some people have a tendency to make it super complex. I don't think that, keyword research and keyword optimization on Amazon is a crazy rocket science. I think it is not super easy, but it's especially hard work. This is tough operational work. You just need to do it, and you need to do it very well for each product. And this is just very repetitive and hard work. But it is there are probably more complex problems in the world from an intellectual point of view than doing this. Even though there are certainly some tricks that that are very they're very difficult to do, right? But yeah, so like to cover, let's say the 80-20, so to cover the basics, I think that it is not super complex.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, guys, you just really need to be putting in the keywords that are the highest traffic and also the highest relevance to your product. And tools like Sonar and the other ones that had AdSense on their site will show you basically a ranked list of keywords. So you just need to get the best ones and put them in the listing. It's not
exactly. I mean, that's about it, right? I mean,
that's all.
It sounds easy, but that's because it is easy, right? So.
But no, you're right. There's a little bit of a grind. Like first, I guess you need to discover the keywords, and then you need to rank them and think about which ones are most important to put in, and then you need to write it and put it in.
I mean, it's it is just hard operational work, right? Where you just need to do it right, and if you have one product, then it's fairly easy. But if you have 500 products, or some of our customers, they have 5-figure amount of products, right? They're like 20, 30,000 products. So how do you want to do keyword research for 30,000 products? I mean, you'll be busy for 5 years. So, it's just not possible. So you really need to focus and narrow down on, the most important things, or the most important products. And then, But it's not too difficult, right? And then the next part is, if you want to optimize for sponsored products, again, I think it's fairly simple, because all you need to do is when you create a campaign, then, you get to this view at some point where it says set a bid and provide keywords, and you can set a bid. And then, so Amazon will give you some suggested keywords, right? So all you need to do is you need to click on provide your own keywords, and then you have a text field, and then you can just copy and paste it from your Excel sheet. And then you just add these keywords. You need to choose the match type, obviously, but this is part of sponsored products. I saw some of your videos. I mean, you had quite a few about sponsored products, so I guess that people are familiar here. And so that's about it, right? So you just copy and paste your list of keywords in here, and then you've added them to your campaign, right? And then then the question is, how do you manage a campaign? But that's a different story. So from a keyword research point of view, it's just this step. So you research the keywords, you add them to your campaign, and you're done, right? So it's not too crazy. And so finally, for the product research part, I think that if you look at it is fairly interesting to look at the autocompletes and just get a better understanding of what are the attributes that people are looking at for a product, right? So here I took a standard example, the very famous silicone barbecue gloves, right? So if you search for barbecue gloves, that's essentially from Sonar, but you can do it yourself also with the autocompletes. It's just to get a better understanding of what are frequent words that are being used in the that are showing up in the autocompletes, right? Yeah. And so you just go and you go like, okay, silicon, obviously black, and claws and long barbecue essentially, and then that's the product. This is a live product from Amazon, yeah. Right? It's black, it's out of silicone, and it has claws, right? Because people do their job in the research, and then they build what people are searching for essentially, right? And you also saw that it's heat resistant, so you put some some flames in the back, right? Which I mean, probably you would also know this because you sell barbecue gloves, right? That they need to be heat resistant, but you can tell, right, that silicone is being searched more often than leather, but leather is also searched more often, quite often, right? And latex is also a bit, right? And then people use it with oven and so on, right? So it's just interesting because, what I see a lot is that people, when they go into the private label space and they start their own products, usually they enter spaces and product categories where they have very little understanding of what's going on. They have very little experience, right? And so doing this kind of broadens your horizon, gives you a better understanding of what are the product attributes that people are looking for in the particular niche, right? And so I think that this is an underrated way of using keywords, because I think the product research part is a super important part, and so I would definitely recommend to use this keyword part as well in the product research process.
Yeah, good point. Okay.
So that's wait, let me see. No, so that's just Sellics, and then okay. That's about it from my side.
Okay. I guess okay, yeah, no, that was a really good breakdown, and we'll definitely we'll talk Sellics at the end, for sure, because so Franz, when you look out and look at Amazon keyword research for maybe in the next, I don't know, like 3 years or something like that, what do you see as being the future of Amazon keyword research? How do you see it changing?
That's a very interesting question. So if we look at the past, what happened is that I feel that Amazon was a bit undecided, right? Yeah. So what happened at first? Yes, there are people passing by in the background. This is from the team, so don't get confused. So they, at the beginning, initially you had 215 characters for your backend keywords, right? 250 characters. Then they expanded it to 5,000 characters. And now they went back to 250 bytes, which essentially, at best is 250 characters again, right? So they kind of expanded and then they reduced it again after a year and a half, roughly. So the story kind of is, so why did they do it, right? So that's a big question. And so the story kind of is that, they figured that it's with 5,000 characters, people were adding so many keywords that it got difficult for Amazon to really identify which product is the most relevant one for the search results. And so that the quality of search results just diminished, which is why they said, hey, let's just limit it to 250 again. Yeah. And apparently they made some analysis and they found out that, 250 is actually a very good, value for most products, and, most keywords are covered in 250 characters and so on, right? So I think that given this information, I don't think that they will change a lot in terms of volume. I don't think that they will reduce it, and I also don't think that they will expand it dramatically. So in terms of the backend keywords. In terms of other keyword fees like the title and the bullet points, what we see now is that Amazon is getting more restrictive and is taking the bullet points out of the index in a few categories and so on. So I think that what they want to avoid is that people pollute the listings by putting too many keywords in title and bullet points, right? So I think that this is certainly something that we're going to see over the next months and years, that Amazon will get more and more restrictive on the front end side so that there is no keyword spamming, right? And so the third trend that I see is connected to the trend of Alexa and the Echo.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting.
So how should I put it? So I think if you look at voice, right, one of the challenges will be to have very structured information. And so I think that what they will need to do is they will need to have a more structured way for the for categorizing the keywords, right? So the thing that I showed before, where they have a table of like what's the material and all this kind of stuff, so that they have a more systematic way. So you have less freedom to essentially enter whatever material you want, but essentially you can choose out of, let's say, a list of 100 different materials, and then you just choose the one that you have. So it's not going to be a text field, but a pick list, because this will then make it a lot easier for Alexa to compare it and to really show you the products that the user is asking for by voice, right? So that's probably the biggest trend that I see. I don't think that there's going to be significant changes on the interface and on the backend side, but I think that that's getting the keywords ready for a world of Alexa. That's probably like the biggest change that will happen over the next couple of years.
Yeah. That's really good insight. Okay.
Well, we'll see if it is an insight or if it's an illusion, right?
Or
time will tell, right?
Or what do we call that? Informed guess.
An informed guess, yes, exactly.
That's it makes sense to me, right?
It's I mean, I think that the Google story kind of is very, you can really learn a lot from a Google story. And, back in the days, it was enough to just add a few keywords into the meta tags, and then you're ranking at the very top, right? And so then Google was like, oh, this is too easy. We need to make it more difficult. And so today, what's interesting is that, you hardly find any, if you look for a job, openings, and, like 5 or 10 years ago, everyone would say, we're looking for some SEO person, right? And today they call those people content marketing people, right? Because Google made it so hard to actually trick and manipulate the algorithms that the best way to actually improve your ranking is by really creating good stuff. And so, for Amazon has the advantage that the Amazon algorithm is a lot more complicated to trick, because it's easier for Amazon to identify whether you're tricking them or not. Because on Amazon, again, there's just one goal. So they go to Amazon to buy the products. If they go to Amazon and you somehow manage to rank your product that really doesn't make sense for a specific keyword, to rank it very high, it will show up, but people won't buy it. So Amazon will understand that, hey, something must be wrong with this product. I don't know what, but something is wrong. So let's just, lower the rankings again, which is a lot more difficult for Google to do, because on Google, if you type in the iPhone and you click on 4 different links and then you leave Google, like, were you successful or not? Like, Google doesn't really know, because they don't know if, they're definitely working on this, right? And they're getting better also, but they don't know for sure what's the user intent. So if they don't know the user intent, they don't know if the user has been successful, which leaves it more open for manipulation compared to Amazon.
Yeah. Oh, that's a great point. Makes sense. Yeah, because at the end of the day, Amazon can just judge by sale or no sale. They have conversion rates, they have bounce rates, they have all that stuff. So, yeah.
There you go, like click rate. This is why click-through rate and conversion rate are so important metrics, right? Are people clicking? If not, then something must be wrong with the product. If they're clicking but not buying, something must be wrong with the product then on the conversion rate side, right? So let's assume you have a listing that shows the iPhone, a nice picture of the iPhone at a very low price. People will click on it, but then in the bullet points you say, this is an inflatable iPhone for your swimming pool, for instance, then, conversion rate will be fairly low, right? And then so they will lower the rankings, right? it's actually fairly simple.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier for Amazon than for Google, right?
Yeah. That's a great point. Okay, so that was keyword research. That was everything you need to know, I think. Franz, do you wanna tell people how they can get a hold of you, how they can learn more about you and your business?
Sure, absolutely. So let me just share my screen one more time. So, I mean, essentially, our core business is Sellics, right? And so Sellics really is, what we call an all-in-one tool for Amazon sellers. So the idea is to provide everything that you need as a seller integrated into one software. So it starts from, keyword research, obviously, which is an important part, but we also have, a profit dashboard where you can track your actual profits. We help you to manage and optimize your sponsored products campaigns. You can keep control of your inventory. We also help you to find new products. So we have a product database of, I think, 850 or 880,000 products that you can just search to get some product ideas, manage reviews, track competitors, and so on. So it's literally everything that you need integrated into one software. And so you can just, try it for free. We have a 14-day free trial. You can go to sellics.com. And then, that's about it. You can just set it up in a few minutes, and then you have everything there. So that's just an easy way to use Sellics. Again, Sonar is a tool that is different. So Sonar is not part of Sellics in some way. It is one of our tools, but it's just it's just a free keyword research tool that you can use without having a Sellics account. So if you just want to do keyword research, then you're probably fine with Sonar. But then if you start running a more complex Amazon operation, then Sellics is probably the better way for you, right?
Nice. Okay, great. And we checked out Sonar, played around a little bit today. And it looks great, by the way. So yeah, definitely check that out, guys, if you're looking to keyword research, and then as you scale up, Sellics. Franz, thanks a lot. That's super helpful.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
And then thanks for having me here on the show. And I hope that this was very helpful for your audience. And then I'll talk to you soon, I guess.
Yep.
Will you be at any conference this year?
I should try to make it out. If you have any recommendations, for sure, let me know.
Well, I guess the Prosper Show is a very very common one. Probably the biggest or Sellers Summit also.
Okay.
So yeah, the two that I'm attending. Maybe there are others. I don't know.
Oh man, I should. That'd be so fun. Because the Amazon community is like a very specific community, and you start seeing the same people around on the internet. But it'd be so funny to see everybody in the same physical place.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
And plus, it's always in great cities, so like Prosper Show is in Vegas, Seller Summit is in Fort Lauderdale, right? So it's just good cities to travel to, right? Okay. In Germany, you always they do those conferences in some small village somewhere remote, and I'm like, why not go to some good city, So
okay, I should definitely check that out. Okay.
All right.
Cool. Thanks a lot, Franz.
Okay, cool. Bad man, see you around, and then talk to you next time.
Yeah, see you soon.
Bye-bye.